Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the markets in EVE Online. And today's EVE Talk is going to be a little bit different because as some of you may know, I've had a little bit of an economic lesson from one of my viewers, and he or she fixed the charts, which is really an awesome thing. By taking away some of the information that's totally not needed, and also gave me some serious tips on how better to take a look at the market from an investor's point of view about expecting what is going to happen. So I've always really gone for the 1 year chart, where I would try and identify trends or reasons for goods to go up and down. But what I've never really done is analyze the supply and demand side of the market, which is something that that person has showed me quite extensively how important it is. In this episode, I'm also going to try and incorporate this knowledge into my EVE Talk. What this does mean, unfortunately, is that it takes a lot more time just to analyze a few of the goods. So I may have to split EVE Talk into a few different episodes because these actually take two. I found out that it's almost 20 minutes just to cover the mineral market. But yeah, it's also a lot of fun and some great information. So what I will start out with is the minerals. But before I really get started, I'll show you what has changed in the charts here. So you can just right click on the chart, which I didn't really know, and then you can actually hide certain information. And the big one here is the min and max prices, which was the strange data points that we would constantly see that would push some of the charts all the way at the bottom of it, so that any trends would no longer be visible. So we're just showing the 20-day moving average, which is the green line, 5-day moving average, which is the red line, and then the median day price, which I think is the data point. A second thing is, this is on the 1 month chart. The reason for this is that it's a lot more compact, and the idea is to analyze supply and demand at the moment to see if we can expect the trend to continue, or if we can expect prices to start going up or move sideways. And this is a lot more visible on the 1 month chart because it also gives us an idea where we're coming from in the recent history. Whereas let's say the 1 year chart, it clearly shows the general trend that Tritanium has gone down from around 620 to well below 480, and after that it started moving sideways a little bit, pretty much around the launch of EVE Online Rubicon, or right at the end of the summer. But if we want to know, of course, what Tritanium might do in the next few days, and not so much looking at the larger trends, you know, which would indicate to me that it might trend upward now a little bit if there's just more activity in EVE Online. But yeah, if we want to have a chance to trade in this a little bit, we need to look at volumes, supply and demand, stuff like that as well. Another change that was done, if you look at my market data, it's all in the GTA station at the moment. So it turns out that in the settings tab you can also change some of the filters. For instance, the amount of jumps is now set from 0 to 0, so that it's really only stuff in this system or in the station that is being shown. And then if I go back to the details, you can turn this filter off, and then it's the entire region that gets shown. But for the EVE Talks, I think it's all about what's happening in the GTA market, which is a gauge for the rest of the economy, and that this is definitely where most of the action takes place anyways. As you can see, also the amounts we're talking here, 790 million, 164 million. If I put the filter back on, 13,105 Tritanium being sold on the market. That's not really a good indication. It's those big numbers, and we find those in the GTA station itself, GTA 44. And so that's why this filter is also extremely useful. So yeah, let's get started. We're going to analyze the mineral market here a little bit, and first thing is Tritanium, which, as you can see, has gone up early November up to a price point of around 483 and has now been correcting back a little bit with 5-day moving average prices going down towards 475. The average volume for Tritanium seems to also have gone down just a little bit, but it's close to 20 billion units of Tritanium per day sold here in the JITA station, with a pretty big spike here actually, which would be close to 30-35 billion sold in a single day, right as the prices started going up quite a lot. In fact, before that you could see these medium prices at around 475 here, jumping to 478 and then trending up, and this might just have been the starting point of that upward trend, which would indicate high demand at that point. So then let's have a look at the market data, and what we have to look for here are big orders that have been put recently. If we have big sell orders, that would basically put a top on the price, and if we have really big buy orders, that would put a bottom on the price. And of course a big sell order indicates a lot of supply, and big buy orders indicate a lot of demand. So what I find pretty interesting here is that there's actually a pretty big sell order put here at 478 of around 1 billion Tritanium. That's not insignificant, around 5% of the entire demand for a day here, which is extremely recent. Actually, it's only been put up here for 16 seconds, so it was not there when I last checked it. And on the other hand, on the buy order side, we also find some pretty big orders, 1 billion, 1 billion, 1 billion. Two of them pretty recent, going from 467 to 468, 469, and now another order extremely recent as well at 470. So if this big order here was not there, I would have said that the demand side was a lot stronger than the supply side. All of these orders are quite a bit lower in number, and that this could indicate that Tritanium might be going up. Now this one big order of 1 billion, that's very recent, does put a little bit of a top at how high Tritanium could go at 478. The thing is, I do think that this order could be picked up on a single day, and that this could be broken, whereas demand is still a decent amount higher, with actually 3 pretty big orders that are competing here for any supply of Tritanium in an upward trend. So I would say it's not going to be any drastic movement, because this is decently in balance, but I would say that demand is slowly winning out here, and I do think that this could actually bottom out because of this, because we're seeing a maximum price here at around 478, and then buy orders climbing up towards 470. So if a few more buyers come here, they might actually pull this back up towards 475 hopefully, and then the average prices, they might just start going back up. So yeah, I do think for Tritanium there's a little bit more demand than there is supply at the moment, and that this correction we've seen in the second half of the month might just be pretty much over. So either a sideways movement or maybe a little bit up is my expectation if I look at some of these numbers. So next up we'll have a look at Pyrite. We can see again a pretty similar chart where Pyrite has gone up pretty decently from 1120 to 1180 in the first half of November, and then it's been correcting a little bit, but it doesn't look as drastic as Tritanium. There's definitely a higher price currently than what we started the month with. On the number side, we're looking at an average of around 4 billion Pyrite being sold in a single day. And then let's have a quick look at the numbers here. And I think that this is actually pretty clear. You can see some decently recent buy orders of 340 million, 150, 150 million, going for 1137, 1138, 1139, even 1141 and 1142, whereas the sell orders starting at 1153 are in much smaller numbers, 4 million, 7 million. You really have to go towards the 1160 mark here to find some pretty big some pretty big sell orders. So I would say that here again demand is higher than supply. It's definitely a demand market where buy orders get filled, and there's a decent amount of competition here at the 1140 mark, which is right around here, and then the sellers, they are fighting close to the 1160 mark actually, which is pretty much here. So I would expect this also to stop this downward correction after the big price spike in the first 2 weeks of November, and to either start moving sideways or slightly up, because I do see that demand is a little bit higher here than what's on the supply side at the moment. Next up, we'll have a look here at Mexallon then. We'll start out with the chart, which again in the first half, pretty decent rise from 41 to 45 ISK. That's a 10% increase, which is not bad at all. Here again, you can see that the 5-day moving average is going down and crossing the 20-day moving average. But the daily average price is not really breaking 44 ISK. And we have around 1 billion or a little bit more than that, maybe 1.1 billion Mexallon being sold in a single day. And then if we have a look at the buy and sell orders, let's have a look at that. We have a few decently large buy orders, but these are at 41.67, 41.55, one at 42 that is trying, but the rest of these, they're not that massive. Any of the recent ones, they don't seem that massive. On the other hand, on the supply side, I'm seeing pretty much the same thing. There's a few decently large sized one starting at 44.60, but there's not really that much seller competition. Here they're not such really big numbers just yet. So I would say that for Mexallon, here as well, the small correction that we've seen in the last, I would say 6 to 7 days might be over as well, and that we might just see some sideways movement in Mexallon for the next few days, considering that to me here supply and demand seem a lot more in imbalance than what we've seen in Tritanium and Pyite, where there does seem to be a little bit more demand than supply. Let's have a look here at Isogen. A pretty similar chart, except that the increase in price for Isogen has been going on for pretty much the entire month, and it's really only in the last 3 to 4 days that the price has been going back towards 128 ISK on average. The number of Isogen sold around a little bit over 0.2 billion per day. And yeah, this is actually a pretty decent correction if you look at this average price here, close to 138. Still Isogen going from 124 to 132 in about a month, but now it does seem to be stabilizing. So here again we have to take a look at supply and demand if we want to have an idea of what's really going on here. And unfortunately, just like with Mexallon, I have to say, I have to scroll down quite a little bit to find the bigger orders right here. Some buy orders at 123. We're seeing a few decently big ones, but these have been up here for quite a bit. The recent ones are not that large, so I'm not really seeing a huge amount of demand for Isogen at the moment. On the supply side though, it's pretty much the same at around the 130 mark. Yeah, there's a good amount of orders here, you know. At the 130, 129.99, there's some competition here, including some decently recent ones, so people are willing to part with them at around the 130 ISK mark, which is right here. So this would indicate to me the lack of demand here, that this will also start moving sideways or continue to correct for a little bit, because this is definitely, the buy orders are well below the current chart point, 127, 126, and going to 123 here for buy orders. That's where the demand is, whereas the supply is still trying to unload at just around the 130 mark. So I think this trend will continue for a little bit, and the floor does seem to be back at around 123 here from when the rise started, but I'm not seeing that much demand at the higher price. There is some right here, one trying at 126, a pretty big order here. Is it recent? Yeah, it's actually very recent. So yeah, the floor might actually be close to 126 here, which would be around here. But I do expect this to go down just a little bit on the chart side, and that prices will settle closer to 126 than the 130 we're seeing now in the sell orders. Because there's a bit more supply here than there is demand at the moment for the price at 130. So yeah, pretty interesting analysis. How Isogen is either going to move sideways, but probably trend down just a little bit as well. Next, we'll try and go by order of price here. So Noxium, let's have a look here. That one's been going up for the entire month and has settled at around the 690 mark, coming from 660. That's 30 ISK. It's not that much, maybe a 5% increase, but it's actually nice how it seems to be decently sustained compared to the rest. So let's have a look at supply and demand. Oh, first maybe the numbers: around 100 million Noxium in a day being traded. And let's have a quick look here at supply and demand if I can. This is a very recent order right here, 687, 5 million units, 687 again here. That's actually a little bit older, 3.2 million. A big one here is 15 million and 8.5 million at 681. And then here on the supply side, I do see a few very recent at the number of 3.5 million, 1.5 million at 693 for sellers. So that does put the top just above 690, which is actually quite good. But there does seem to be some demand even at 687, which is all the way here. So that's pretty interesting. And to me, this feels again pretty much in balance. So I'm not really seeing any huge buy orders that stick out, that are very recent, indicating a lot of demand for Noxium all of a sudden. And there are some decent recent sell orders supporting a price at around 694. So here I would say that Noxium will probably just trend sideways. Maybe up a little bit with the top at 694, something like that. But yeah, there's not actually enough demand to really push the price above 690. So I think that this will start to stall a little bit and just move sideways over the next few days if I take a look at supply and demand here. So yeah, again a sideways movement for Noxium. Next up we'll have a look at Zyrine, which is a pretty impressive rise, going from 560 all the way up to close to 800, and then of course correcting as well a little bit in the last few days. Is that around 40 million a day being sold, although the numbers of the volumes do tend to go up. Well, they've gone up quite a lot with the rise in the last month, and now they seem to have gone down a little bit in the last few days, also dragging the price back down as well. So let's have a quick look at the current numbers and demand and supply. 748, 749 for the sellers, 726 for the buyers. And here again, unfortunately, it also looks to be pretty much in balance around that 640 mark here. Yeah, 726, 750, close to that. But none of them really jump out again as really big recent orders. There are some on the supply side here, 3.5 million, 1.5 million, 1.5 million, at around the 650 mark or just below that. So there is some competition in supply, whereas the buy orders, these are very small at the 726 mark, and then we go right back to 703, and these are, well, that's actually a pretty recent one here, 2 million at 703, 1 million at 703, which is actually around here. So yeah, it looks like we actually will have a floor at around 700 ISK. There is still a decent amount of supply at around the 750 mark, which definitely outpaces demand at any higher prices above 700. So I do suspect this correction in Zyrine that this will continue in the next few days. So Zyrine will probably correct back towards the 700 mark, because there's a lot of demand at that 700 mark, but there is still a decent amount of supply being pushed at the 750, so this will probably go down. I think the 1 year chart here is pretty interesting for Zyrine. Look at that nice top here around the launch of Odyssey, but then a serious correction during the summer, going from more than 1000 ISK down to close to 550 even, and now spiking back up to 800. That's quite a big movement right here. So I do think some correction is normal and necessary, and that this will actually continue in the next few days for Zyrine. But pretty interesting to see how large the actual uptrend was. And because of how the chart was shown in the previous EVE talks, I haven't really seen that. You know, I saw some upward movement in Zyrine last week. That's true, but I did not see a sharp rise like this, and that is because I was not looking at supply, demand, and anything like that. I was just looking at general trends on this 1 year chart. But yeah, it's awesome that this is fixed, and I do think that I can give a lot more in-depth information about what's going on. Final one is Megasite, which has been actually steady or maybe even going down a little bit in the first half of November, and only recently knew a spike. You can also see that the 20-day moving average is actually still showing an upward trend. So we're definitely still at a high price point compared to the rest of the month. Demand-wise, we see around volume-wise, we see around 20 million being traded per day. And if I have a look here, there's actually a decent amount of supply here coming in. That's very recent, 2.5 million, 1.3 million at the 1670 mark. Demand-wise, let's see if there's any real... There's not that much demand. You know, I'm seeing a few larger orders, but those are already at 1565, 82 days to go, so that's at least a week old. Here's another big one that's at least a day old as well, at the 1615 mark. But there is definitely supply here, a lot of supply that is apparently dictating the market. So people are bringing it to the market and they have time to sell it, whereas buy orders, they don't really those don't seem to matter that much in this price formation. So it does look here to me that Megasite at 1670 is still selling, which is quite high. Look at the rest of the chart. That's actually close to halfway on this point, and there is a lot of supply here, but there doesn't seem to be that much fresh demand just yet. So I do think if Megasite gets bought, it's going to be through the sell orders, because those are a lot stronger here, and surprisingly enough, the only one at the moment that I'm seeing in the minerals that shows a lot more supply, big numbers on the supply side than on the demand side, on the sellers than on the buyers, and so they do seem to be dictating the price, and there is competition coming in. But it's still at 1670 ISK, which is higher than what we've seen here. So I do expect the price for Megasite to continue to go up. It does look like this one is not going to go down anytime soon. This trend might just continue. I am interested in the 1 year chart here a little bit, which is decently interesting. As you can see, again, a high at Odyssey of around 2500 ISK, and then a serious downtrend towards 1500 ISK. That's 1000 ISK difference right here. But here it does look like there's definitely a bottom formation, and if I look at supply and demand, I think this trend is going to go up at least a little bit, although people are still willing to sell them for 1670. And on the other hand, it's only 4 million units with 20 million a day sold. So yeah, this could actually get broken, and then the next few orders are right here, 1671. Then we have another big order at 1723. Yeah, all of this to me, it does indicate that the price for Megasite might still be going up in the next few days, which is the only one where I can really say that that might be happening. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's actually already a 25-minute just to have a look at the mineral market. Obviously, with all of this new information, I can go a lot more in depth. And I would say on general trend, a lot of them have known a significant rise throughout November, which I've missed because my charts were not really in the right shape when I was doing the previous EVE talks. A lot of them feel pretty much in balance at the moment. So I do think a lot of them are either at the end of their correction or are going to correct for just a little bit longer. And the one that is sticking out here is Megasite, which I do think is going to continue to go up a little bit. Anyways, that's it. The first part of EVE Talk, which is all about the minerals. I'm going to see how I can handle the rest of the information that I want to cover. Also, let me know if you prefer this more of in-depth look at one segment of the market, and then I'll do another one, or if you would prefer me to go over this more quickly and try and cover more goods in one at maximum half-hour video. Anyways, that's it for the mineral markets for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.